The city has these 3 parcels of land that the parking authority believes will generate market values in excess of $10 million. These 3 pieces of land have been under these garages since they've been built. In selling that $10.1 million of land does not diminish in any way the current $4 million worth of revenue that the parking system is currently contributing to the city. It's like having 3 extra cars and selling them because you don't need them.
Wow, what an analogy. Bob is equating the sale of 3 prime pieces of downtown property to 3 used cars. Using the 3 used cars as an analogy to raise assets for the city of Harrisburg. What he does not mention is that it's more akin to borrowing $10 million against these 3 cars.
The mayor believes now is that time. This is why he has proposed this particular transaction as part of the 2008 budget. His purpose, though, is not to fund for operating expenses, but to pay down debt.
What you're not telling council is that you are preparing to borrow $10 million against the sale of these 3 properties. Where will the revenue source come from to pay the interest on $10.1 million?
We don't know why we wouldn't want to do this deal. He is seriously considering at least one other option of leveraging significant city assets.
So Bob states that the mayor is ready to enter into agreement to sell or lease significant assets in the city of Harrisburg. Could these assets be the parking garages and/or parking meters located throughout the city? Well, we did a little bit of research, and we found is that Randy King, who used to work for the mayor, is now employed by Triad Strategies, a lobbying firm based in Harrisburg. A partial list of clients of Triad Strategies are the City of Harrisburg, the Harrisburg School District, and an entity known as Harrisburg Parking Acquisition, LLC. When we clicked on the link to Harrisburg Parking Acquisition, it took us to another website based in New York of White Acre Equities. And this is an equity group that buys real estate throughout the United States. Is it that we are entering into an agreement with a New York City firm to sell or long-term lease our parking garages and/or parking spaces?
When you say that this would not impact our general fund in any way?
Revenue.
Okay, our revenue, whatever, in any way. I think that maybe you're mistaken on that. And if, in fact, the parking authority borrows $10 million, and let's say it's at a 5% interest, that's $500,000 of interest they're going to pay on that $10 million debt.
That's correct.
Now, it seems as though every penny of income that the parking authority generates is siphoned off into the city.
After its operating expenses. After its debt service, exactly. After its operating expenses.
So, if we have an additional $500,000 of expense in the parking authority, what will that do to the amount of money left over of income in the parking authority that could come to the Harrisburg Revenue Fund, or wherever you want to say? General fund.
There are, if there's no rate increases, if there's no rate increase.
We're not talking about rate increase.
Right, if there was no additional, if it was everything else was revenue neutral, there would be $500,000 less to be distributed from the Courtney Parking Fund.
Exactly. So this will, it's no different than us borrowing the money and us paying.
Well, there's an important point here that I might have failed to make earlier, and if I did, I apologize. The majority, the large majority, I believe the estimate is over 90% of the majority of the users of the parking system, the people who pay the fees, who use the system, pay the fees, are non-city residents. That means, so well, no, all city residents are important, but what my point is this: if the parking authority felt the need to raise rates to meet that debt service obligation, they have that ability. I guess they have that ability, and 90% or more of that would be paid from outside users of the system.
Okay, Bob. But if we have the ability to raise the rates, we could raise the rates anyway. And so we could keep that extra $500,000. I mean, this is going to cost us $500,000 any way you look at it. And there's absolutely no way you as a CPA can really justify that that's not the case, knowing that the income from the parking authority flows directly into the city government.
Right.
So if they have $500,000 more of interest expense, we're going to get $500,000 less.
Right, and you as a CPA are making the assumption that there is not going to be future rate increases.
So what if there are rate increases?
Well, it's important because if there were
Yeah.
to be rate increases, the revenue generated from those rate increases pays the additional debt service, which sustains the
That is
level.
disingenuous, council members, and I want you to
No, it's not.
disregard what he is saying.
What are you?
That's disingenuous, and you know it.
Way to go, Dan. Calling Bob disingenuous. Could it be that he's being disingenuous, or is it just outright lies? When pushed, he admitted that the $4 million revenue stream will continue because they plan on raising the rates of the parking garages. So in essence, this is not a win-win situation. It's a raise of the cost of parking in the city of Harrisburg to fund the 2008 city budget.
No, it's not.
If they borrow $10 million,
If they borrow $10 million,
their expenses go up by
$500,000. Right, that means
our revenue goes down by $500,000.
right. If revenue stream remains constant. If revenue stream is increased, that's no longer the case. That is not disingenuous. That's economics.
Well, then obviously you.
I know, but I'm just
because that's not true. If we raised the rates and we didn't have the $500,000, that money would come to us anyway.